Hey everybody, welcome to the Landlord Coach Daily Show. Why different forms of payment are better than others. Today on the Landlord Coach Daily Show, let's get it started.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Landlord Coach Daily Show. My name is Mark Dolfini, the Landlord Coach and host of the Landlord Coach Daily Show. It's really nice to see you. Thanks for joining me today. Let me know where you are in the comments. I know if you're joining me on the Facebooks. I'm not live on YouTube today. I didn't decide to go on live on YouTube, so you get me here live only on Facebook. You should feel so just so honored and privileged, right? Well, it's good to see you all. So today what we're going to be talking about is why different forms of payment are better than others, especially as it relates to the rental operations. And certainly I remember having this conversation, and this was like 20 years ago, with this one guy who, it was typical, very early in the process. Check was in the mail, that sort of thing. And it was super frustrating, it was one of those situations where, because I didn't have a business, I hadn't set up, obviously my desire was to get rent once in a while, would have been a big boost to my morale. But, I had mortgages on my properties that I had to pay. So it was obviously really, really important that I had these rents coming in on time, because I still had to pay the mortgage regardless of whether they paid the rent or not. So the problem was I wasn't getting rent very consistently because I didn't really have a system in place in terms of getting for them to consistently expect me to call if something didn't happen. So if I didn't get the rent, say by the 3rd, I may not have called them until the 7th, 8th, or the 12th, or the 15th, or whatever. Sometimes I would not call them at all. And until I realized that did I miss a payment? Did I not realize I hadn't paid? That sort of thing. So my system in the beginning was kind of a train wreck. So once I recognized my weaknesses there, I had to get my accounting up to speed. And I know, I have a background in accounting, but the bookkeeping was just, it was should have been fairly straightforward, but I didn't have anything down consistently. So once I kind of got that figured out, what I was doing in the early days, and this was, oh gosh, it's almost embarrassing to admit, but what I would do is, as a check would come in, I would write in a receipt book. I had this receipt book, which was, it was a binder. It was like one of those 5-inch binders. And I would write in the receipt book every time someone would pay, right? So I could see, and then I would have that actual receipt. I would tear it off. And if I wasn't there to hand them the receipt, a lot of times I would just take that receipt and include that with the deposit. So at least I knew, and there was 3 parts. There was a white, yellow, and the pink. And I would take the white, I would throw it away, or I'd give that to the resident. The yellow I would keep with a deposit slip. And of course the pink was my record, right? That they actually made the payment. It was inefficient at best. It used to take me hours. And at that point in time, I maybe had 30 or 40 units, but it would literally take me hours to do a deposit for the day, because I'd have to write out all the checks and everything else. It was terribly inefficient. So one of the things that I recognized, that in this, the topic for today is why different forms of payment are better than others, is, cash was nice to get, don't get me wrong, but you lose cash, you don't have any ability to actually, find it again. Plus I didn't like to show up at a rental property and they hand me a stack of, they give me, $600 in cash, and they give me $800 in cash. And next thing I know, I've got 10 grand in cash that I'm walking around with. And, I just didn't like, having that much cash on me. And I didn't like anybody else knowing that I had that much cash on me. So the cash wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. Well, then banks started charging for accepting cash deposits. And that was, I don't know exactly when that was. I want to say it was maybe around 20, 2012, maybe 20. It was somewhere around there where my bank was starting to charge me for that. And I was like, why in the hell are you charging me for that? Well, they have expenses. They have expenses to cover. If they get too much cash in their bank, they have to sell some of that out of the bank to Brinks or whoever, and they have to pay for that. So they're charging back for cash handling, which I get. I understand it. It sucks, but I get it. So I wasn't at the point where I was ready to start turning away people from handing me cash. And it wasn't long after that I actually had a physical office. So I was actually having people bring me cash to my office. And still didn't solve the problem of me walking around with, tens of thousands of dollars worth of cash sometimes. But at least it was all, in a secure safe, that sort of thing. And, if I ended up having to go to the bank, I could make sure it was, not just on my person, I could tuck it inside, of course, make sure I'm well armed, but still, I don't want to have to shoot somebody just because they want to come up and try to rob me. It just wasn't a good situation. Certainly wasn't a good feeling. So, eventually I stopped taking cash. I stopped accepting cash altogether. And there's a lot of places that don't accept cash anymore, strictly for the safety of it. And that was one of the reasons why we stopped doing it, just because that was one of the reasons. But also I didn't want to have to eventually, I wanted to transition out of having to have someone sitting at a desk accepting cash. And now you've got an audit risk of, did that person count out the cash properly? What if they counted it out wrong? What if they entered in accepting 800 instead of 700 and now we're short $100? Did they make the error? Or, it was just not a good system. So I went away from accepting cash just because that was, it just wasn't something that I could do automated. And it was really, really tough to scale my operation if I was going to be accepting cash all the time. The other issue was with people mailing money orders. And that's going to be the topic of today. I would often have people that would mail money orders. And I remember back in the day when I would send off my little UPC codes to send, remember the little things that you would get from like Cheerios boxes and cereal boxes where you could get some goofy freaking prize where if you collected so many UPC symbols and mail that with $1 for money order or whatever, and they'd send you back some goofy thing, whatever. Well, back in the day, money orders weren't too terribly bad. But here's the problem. Most money orders at the time were purchased through the post office. Then somebody figured out that they could actually do the same thing by if you went to like your local convenience store, you went to your grocery store or wherever, and you could buy a money order pretty much anywhere that, you can go to any gas station, you can go to Walmart, you can go to, whatever grocery store you're at, and you can buy your money orders there. Here's the problem. Let me ask you this question before I say the problem. Have you ever tried to return something at Walmart? Okay. Now, I'm not knocking the people at Walmart. This is not a workers' problem. They don't have a really deep infrastructure at all in terms of related to like customer service. I mean, it's like you bring back a widget, the widget's broken, go get another widget, throw that in the bucket, and then go get another one, whatever, right? When it comes to money orders, it's a freaking nightmare. I had a guy who legit never paid his rent late, never paid it late, but he always mailed a money order. So he mailed a money order. The problem was that money order got lost. It never showed up. And I didn't have any reason to not believe him because I think he rented for me for like 4 or 5 years. Never not paid his rent. That money order never showed up. It never did. And I was thinking, well, did I do something with it? Again, I was still working through my processes. Did I do something with that money order? Did I lose it? Whatever. And I'm like, man, I know I didn't lose it. I know I never remember seeing it. So went through my book, didn't find it. And, I just this thing never turned up. That guy took 6 months working with Walmart. And I say working with air quotes, getting that money order back. Now, I would say the post office is probably a little bit better just because they've been doing it for so long and they have a pretty robust system. But trying to get a money order or credit for a money order back from, and I'm not ripping on Walmart. I'm just saying they suck at this. There's a Village Pantry here local, which is a convenience store. There's other money orders that are like that. Western Union probably isn't so bad, but I've never had to deal with it. But if you lose a money order, it's a pain in the ass to get that money back. And, it's not like a cashier's check where, if the money never gets cashed, they can check that pretty much instantly as long as you have the check number, the certified check number. It's not like that with a money order. And money order is a nightmare. And it happened twice in the history of when people would mail a money order, that money order would come up missing, and who knows where it actually landed. The other issue is that money orders are actually, I think, I know that there's financial instruments that are getting replicated quite often, but money orders are among the most highly fraudulently replicated financial instruments out there, because there's so many different types of money orders. Back in the day, it used to just be the post office. Now it's like, everybody's got freaking money orders, and you can just almost make them up on the fly and turn it in as actual tender. And that now, poof, you've got a money order, right? So I really recommend, if someone's going to hand you a money order, then fine. I would be okay with taking it, and there's a lot of our residents who, through my management company, still pay with money orders. That's fine. But the problem is, if that money ever comes up missing or unaccounted for, it can be a real nightmare to track that down. So this is almost, if you are paying your bills with money orders, I would really just understand that it's risky. And if you're accepting payment through money orders, just understand it's equally risky, because you've got the issue of fraudulent transactions. You've got the issue of, if they're saying that they paid it and it didn't actually get received, they didn't do wrong. I mean, you might actually legit believe them, and they could even show you the stub, the pay stub. But if they have to go back to the issuing authority to get credit for it, it could take months if they ever get the credit at all. So that is why I would suggest never accepting a money order in terms of forms of payment. I also don't like accepting cash, obviously, for the safety issue as well. Let's go ahead and see the comments. Gary Ochoa, hey, my fellow Marine, how's it going, brother? Gary Ochoa is I know you're out there doing some investment out in the where are you at? I want to say Clovis. It's Clovis, New Mexico, right? Did I get that right? Keith Anderson, my brother over there from my wrestling days in high school. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for joining me. But that's all I have for today. I don't see any other comments. So if you guys do have any questions about this, one of the things I do recommend, I talk about this exact thing in terms of forms of payment and other ways to accept payments in the book, The Time Wealthy Investor 2.0, which if you'd like a free copy of this, all I do is ask for a small investment just to cover the shipping. But it's landlordcoach.com/TWI. And you can go and check that out. Did I get that right? I feel like I got that. I want to check that real fast before I sign off, because I believe it's landlordcoach.com/TWI. And it is. So you can just go there, click on the link, and it'll take you to where you can plug that in. But you can get your free copy. All I ask you is you just cover the shipping, and I will get that right out to you. And if you'd like the book, Truly Worthless, you won't even be able to give it away. I'll be willing to sign your name to it. So I'll be happy to do that. But that's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks for joining me today for another episode of the Landlord Coach Daily-ish Show. Please remember to place a value on your free time, because if you don't, someone else will. But most important, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you next time.